Welcome to the DevWorm channel, and today we're going to be adding collisions and a Y-sort system for episode 4 of the How to Create an Action RPG, in which I teach you step by step how to create an amazing RPG game in Godot. But before we get started, I just want to ask if you could please go down there and hit that subscribe button and leave a like on this video, as it helps YouTube push this series to more people, so more inspiring game developers just like you can learn to make their own Godot games as well. But let's just get straight into adding collisions to our RPG game. So last episode we went and we added this camera, which is a moving camera. But if we are to play the game, the camera and everything works, obviously. But we don't have collisions. Like, we can just walk into the lake, we can walk on top of the mountains. So we're gonna fix that problem today first. And then second, we have Y sorting issues, right? So we're behind the tree. So so the tree should be showing in front of us, right? And it doesn't, right? So we're gonna fix that today as well, which is Y sorting. And Y sorting is basically, it's gonna sort stuff on the Y-axis. So if you go up, the Y-axis gets lower. If you go down, the Y-axis gets greater. So whatever object, let's say our object is the player and the object is the tree, which one of these objects is gonna have the higher Y-axis? So right now the tree has the higher Y-axis. Then we want the tree to be in front of the player. But right now the player has a higher Y-axis. So we want it to go in front of the tree, right? And we want that to work with these. We want that to work with these trees over here. We want that to kind of work with everything on the entire map, right? The rock, this tree, these trees, everything on the entire map we want to work as a Y sort. And we also want to fix up collisions, so we can't just walk up here on top of the cliff. So let's get started with that. So to add the collision shape, so we cannot go on top of the mountains and stuff, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to our world and add a static body. And the reason we're gonna add a static body is because a collision shape, collision polygon, that stuff doesn't work unless you have it on a static body, kinematic body, physics body. It has to be on something like that for it to work. So we'll just go name our static body 2D to collisions. So this is we're gonna put all of our collision shapes in here, which we're only gonna have one. But in a more advanced game, you want like a folder like this, kind of. It's not a folder, but it acts as our folder. Now to our collision, or to our static body, you want to go and add a collision polygon 2D. Now we want a collision polygon, not a collision shape, because a collision polygon you can kind of trace everything out. A collision shape is a set shape, like a square, rectangle, whatever. But we want to click, so we'll just click like up here, and then we just want to click, and now we've started, right? So now we can just trace everything. It doesn't really have to be exact, because you can't really tell once it's made, but you just want to kind of give everything on the map a trace around. Trace the outside the map, just trace the areas that you don't want the player to be able to go. So like anything on this in here, because we're gonna loop all the way around the map, right? So we're gonna go all the way around. So whatever's on this side of the line, or in like this area, that's where our player can walk. So like we don't want it to go past this line. So this is like kind of the barrier. We can go up here up to the railroad track. Just trace the entire map. Boom. Go down here. Right, so you can kind of see how I'm tracing it out. And then once we get to the end, we do not want to click this little piece, or we don't want to click the starting dot, because what's that gonna, or that's going to make our circle inside, so we won't be able to walk in here, which is bad. So we want to click like away from it, and then we want to kind of drag a line, or we want to drag it up more, like way past the starting point. Then we want to just come out all the way out like this, just make an entire circle around the map. Doesn't really matter. But now you come back here, and now you want to click the starting point, and now you can kind of see all these different colors. These colors are collisions, so which means the player, if it hits it, it won't go past the collisions, right? So we can toggle collisions now. So if we go up to debug, view collision shapes, we can turn that on. Now if we play the game, you can see all these like polygon colors. You can see that when our player hits them, our player stops, which is good. So like this right here is a lake or a river. You can't go into the river anymore. Down here, you can't go into the river. Can't walk on top of the mountains. I like to click the little eyeball here just so we have like a clean map kinda. So once you hit the eyeball, and we can turn off visible collision shapes, but once you hit the little eyeball there, you won't see it in your scene editor, but when you play the game, the collisions do still work, as you can see. But now let's fix the Y sort thing so we can go in front of stuff. And these trees we obviously don't want to be on top of, we want to be under. Same with this tree. If we're walking behind it, we want to be under. If we're on this side, we want to be on top, right? So let's get started with that. This is going to be a little bit complicated, so let's just get started. So first, we are going to go up to our world, and we're going to add a node called Y sorts, just like that. This is what we're going to put all of our trees, rocks, and stuff like that into, because we're going to be making a completely new scene. For this tree right here is going to be its own scene, but this tree and this tree are going to be like their own scene. It's going to be the same scene, because we can duplicate them. But let's make this scene first. We'll make this scene completely, and I'll kind of go through everything, how to make a scene, how to make it for the Y sort and stuff like that. So we're going to go up here, we're going to click on the plus, add a new scene. We're going to create another node, and we're going to use a static body, because a static body is not really going to move, it's just sitting there and does stuff, but and switches layers based on Y sort. We'll name this small tree. So this is going to be the small tree scene. We can control S to save it. We'll save it to our scenes, small tree.tscn. Now we want to add a animated sprite. Now the reason I'm adding an animated sprite is because we want to use a tile set. Now we're not going to have multiple frames, we're only going to have one frame. So even if you have, if you have an animation, you want it to sway in the wind or whatever, then you use an animated sprite. But even if you have one frame and you want it to be a still object, you also want an animated sprite. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Then we want to add a collision shape 2D, just a basic collision shape. Now, this is our starting point. So this is what it's going to sort by. It's going to sort by this arrow right here. So we want that to be towards the bottom trunk of the tree. Now, if we click on our animated sprite here, we can go to frames, create new sprite frames. We can create this, we can leave it as default, but we can click this little grid here. We can click on our art, and we can go to our forest tile set PNG, which link in the description to all this art. You can download it from itch.io, so it's trusted. But horizontally we have 10 tiles, and vertically we have 6. And if you see that, it's going to make a perfect cutout for the tree. So now we click the tree, add one frame, and now we have a tree, right? And we want to move this tree up. So this right here is the tree. We want this little bottom piece, which is the parent of our tree, we want that to be at the trunk, because that's where it's going to sort from. So if this is in front of the player, then that's kind of where it's going to sort from. So we want that to be towards the bottom, or the trunk, because if the player is right here, we still want it to be going behind the tree because it's on that side of the trunk, right? So that works. Now, collision shape 2D is also pretty basic. We're going to go with a circle, and we can just make a small circle like that. We can move over our animated sprite just a tiny bit, and boom, that's it. Like, that is all. So now with this tree, we can go back over to our world, go to our Y sort. We can click on the little chain link to instance, and we will instance small tree. Now this tree we will take and we will put right over the top of that tree. We can copy this and paste it. So now we have 2 trees, and we can take this other tree and put it on top of that tree. Now it's gonna work, right? So we want to go to we put it on foreground, right? Yeah. So now we can go to our foreground. We can delete the back trees by right clicking on the tile. So we right clicked, the back trees are gone. So now we just have this tree, because if we go to the world and we move this tree, there's still a tree there. Hold up. We also have to remove the bottom as well. So we'll go to our foreground. We can remove the bottom parts of the tree as well. Now there's no tree there. So if we are to play the game, you can see it works, right? It doesn't work. Okay, wait, hold up. We got to also put our player into our Y sort. So after the player's in there, now you click play. You run this way, you're in front. Now you're in front of the tree, you go behind the tree, you're behind the tree, right? And that's how it works. So we're in front of the tree, we're behind the tree. In front of the tree, behind the tree. And now we're gonna have to do this a couple times. We're gonna have to make a couple scenes. Small rock, big tree. And we also, if we are right here with our player and we run all the way over here, you can kind of see these, we go on top of them, which is not good. And we're not gonna make these a scene because that would be a lot of work. So with all of these, so these trees on this side, we want to be in the foreground, which is going to be on this side of the Y sort. So if we move the Y sort up here, so now the Y sort is it's like in the middle of the middle ground and foreground. So now if you see this, now we're under these trees, right? Because over here the foreground's in front of the Y sort, which holds the player. And up here on these trees, they're also in front of us because they're on the foreground, right? So because of this, what we're going to do is we can kind of see like these we want to be in front of. All these up here we want to be in front of. This one is, all these over here are all fine. So this can all be on the foreground. Doesn't really matter because we're never going to come in contact with these. So we have the middle ground, which is just grass, which it's kind of a waste, but we will copy the foreground, or I guess we don't really have to copy the foreground. Yeah. Okay, we don't have to copy that. So we'll just go up to our middle ground. We can click on the little tile set over here. We can go boom, and we can add some more tiles. So like we need a big tree, so new single tile, or we need the green tree. So we'll do the green tree. We'll do the other small tree, and that is all we need, I think. So now we'll go to the middle ground and we can add these trees in right where these trees are, which is on the foreground. So we're not going to see a difference yet, but if we go and add all these in the areas that they should be, like this, like that, that's all you need. You just need to create this top row, and then if we go to the foreground and then we remove, we got to go here, we got to remove the bottoms and the tops. Same over here. Now if we are to play the game, you can see that up here we go on top of the trees, which is what we want, and on this side we go under the trees, which is kind of what we want, but we still have to fix these trees here. The only reason that works, it looks like it's working, is because our player's in the Y sort and it's still sorting these. Or it's not sorting these, it's sorting the player. So it's sorting the player to the tile set, or to the tile map. But up here we go in front. So everything else is working. We just need the rocks, the big tree, and I think that's all, right? Yeah, the big rock, small rock. So to do this, we go up here, add a new scene, add another node, we add a static body, and these are going to be like super, we'll just do small rock. These are going to be super the same, I guess. They're going to be basically a complete copy. Animated sprite, right, collision shape, 2D. Animated sprite, boom. We want this to be a new sprite frame, and we click on that. Then we can click the grid, click our tile PNG, We want 10 horizontal and 12 vertical. 12 vertical. Okay, there we go. This is the small rock, so we'll click on the small rock, add 1 frame. We can zoom in. We can make this up towards the top. The rocks don't really matter because the rocks they're so small you'll barely even notice. But we'll just scale that down. Looks good. It's fine. Works fine. Save the small rock scene. We'll create a new scene. Static body 2D. We'll make this the big rock. We'll add a animated sprite and the collision shape 2D. Right, it's like super it's basically just a complete copy of the thing that we already did. Boom, boom, big rock, add frame. Move it up a little bit so it's towards the bottom. Add a collision shape. A tricky collision shape. And that's fine. Big rock, boom. And last but not least, we have the static body 2D. The big tree. And for the big tree, we need a animated sprite and a collision shape 2D. Animated sprite, this is going to be a little different because it's going to be a bigger like grid here. So horizontally we need 5 and vertically we are going to need 6, and you can see that makes the entire tree right there. And we'll take the dark green tree, add frame. This is a huge one. We'll just move it towards the trunk just like the small tree. Collision shape is going to be pretty big. We just want it to be the size of the trunk again. Now we can save this scene, the big tree. Make sure you save all these into the scenes folder. But now if we go back to the world, we can go to our Y sort. We can we'll instance the big tree, and you can see it spawns our big tree. You just want to overlap these big trees, copy, and you can paste another big tree. Copy is Control C and Control V, and then you just put it somewhere in the vicinity. It doesn't have to be exact. But now that we got the big trees, we can click on Y sort, put a chain, click on small rock, go up here, grab our small rock, put it on top of this small rock. Now we can go Y sort, the little chain button. Where's big rock? Big rock. Insert big rock, grab big rock, put big rock way over here. Now, that everything's working just fine, right? Now we have everything we have everything implemented onto our map. But we gotta go to our foreground and we gotta delete this rock, delete that rock. Delete these trees down here. So we need all these trees down there deleted. Did we delete these? Yep. All this is deleted. So now everything should be 100% good. Everything should be 100% working. But now we do have a ton of scenes, and hopefully they're all saved. Should all save them all. But you can see we run up here, we're in front of the trees. We run over here, we're behind the trees. These trees here, they have collisions, but we can still go through them because there should be a little gap. But yeah, you can see that we hit the trunk here. But boom, everything looks good, right? Can't go there, behind this tree. Collisions with the rock. Behind that tree, collisions with the rock. Okay, that's a little buggy there. But that is an easy fix. You just have to change the rock area. We need that a little bit higher up. So if you go over here to the big rock scene, you can just grab the big rock, move it a little bit more down, move the collision shape to where it fits, and now everything works just fine. So now it should all be working. But thank you guys so much for watching. that is collision shapes. That is Y sorts. A bit of a long episode, but a very, very productive episode. And I know this is probably like a super boring episode because it's like, yeah, cool. We just did 20 minutes or whatever for walking under trees and going in front of trees and not being able to walk into water for a video game. But that is important, obviously. It's very, very important to a game, to make a game look good, to make a game work good. And yeah, that's it for episode 4 of the RPG series. So now we can go in front and behind of objects, which is always good. And we also have collisions, so we can't just run away and our player go off the camera, since our camera is only stuck to our map now. But hopefully everything in this video made sense. If it didn't make sense, please, please, please let me know in the comments, and I will be sure to do my best to help you. But thank you guys all so much for watching it, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Until next time, have a safe and wonderful rest of your day.